Okay, guys, I think that everyone who wanted to watch the webinar is already here. I hope you all are great today, and let's get started. Let me introduce myself. My name is Olena Prohoda, and I'm social media marketing and community manager at Serpstat. And I'm so happy to be here with you and open the Serpstat webinars. It's an honor for me, and I would add a couple of words about Serpstat for those of us who don't know as well. It's an all-in-one SEO platform that provides keyword and backlink opportunities, reveals competitor search strategies, tracks daily rankings, highlights SEO-related issues, and helps in team management and in sharing custom reports. It's well suited for those who works with data bug analysis, API, and integrations with Google Sheets and Google Data Studio and R. So, what are our webinars for? These are online events where SEOs and digital marketing specialists can gain actionable knowledge and receive the answers to their questions from SEO experts. And you can get answers to your questions and receive some best practices for your projects. And we'll try to invite SEO experts with vast practical experience in different digital marketing fields. And the best part is that it's absolutely free, you know. Today is our first webinar that is dedicated to structured data, schema, implementation of all of that stuff, and getting rich results in SERP and boosting CTR and traffic. So maybe it sounds so ambitious, but I believe that you'll definitely achieve all of that. And if you watch the webinar to the QA session and you prepare all your questions, send them to the chat, you will receive the answers from Joseph and at the end of the webinar. And also, I have to say that every registered participant will receive recording, and also it will be published on our private Facebook group, Serpstat Insights for our paid users. And all of you will receive today's presentation, and also in addition to the opportunity to get answers to your questions. So let's meet our today's speaker, Joseph Kahn.
Hey.
Joseph,
Hi, everybody. Excited to be here.
how are you, Joseph?
Really good. Excited.
Okay, great. I hope it will be very helpful and useful and fun for all of us and all of the participants.
Definitely.
And okay, let me introduce Joseph. He is our brand ambassador. Also, he is the president, CTO, and in charge of all SEO and digital marketing things for the award-winning digital agency called Hamjet.com. Besides, Joseph is an active participant of our Serpstat chats on Twitter, and even was one of our special guests there. So, Joseph, welcome, and please tell us a couple of words about you, about your experience, and about the topic we're discussing today. And guys, enjoy the topic and presentation. So I'm passing the mic to you.
Awesome.
Here you are, Joseph.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And it's not ambitious at all. Ambitious of what we're going to cover and ambitious of what we can accomplish. Just a little bit about me. I've got so much to cover. So just a little bit about me. I've been doing this for quite some time, since 1994. I've won a few awards from Microsoft Awards. I've done over $1 million online launches with no list from scratch, that kind of thing, using SEO, social media, and some paid advertising. I'm the SEO for Looney Tunes characters, Bugs Bunny, Roadrunner, that kind of stuff. And I've been a part of some Fortune fastest 500 growing company status. So that's a little bit about me. And I love, love, love SEO, and I'm certified in just about everything and love, diving deep into that. So I believe Schema is advanced SEO, but this is going to be for beginners. Okay. So I believe it's advanced because it's rarely used. People rarely go down to the level that we're going to talk today, but it does make such an impact. So we're going to talk about what's schema markup. So if you're a beginner and you're like, I just want to understand what this is, we're going to talk about that today. And what is structured data, rich results? You hear this kind of floating around in different terminology. We're going to talk about that. And we're going to talk about implementing it and monitoring it using Serpstat. So we're going to talk about that today. So what is schema markup? Okay. And again, if you're into SEO, digital marketing, etc., just having this knowledge is going to help you a long ways. Okay. So just understanding that schema markup is just structured data vocabulary. And all that means is that this is not for the content writer. This is not for the end user. This is not like, nobody's going to read this except for the bots, the engines. This is just for the data engines tools. This is structured data vocabulary that helps search engines better understand the information on your website. And that's really critical. If you're not doing it, you're going to be outranked. This is kind of the future because you're basically giving more data to help the search engine rank you better and to do more things with that data. So, so the structured data is a way of describing your site and making it easier for your search engine to understand, which is why they can now put it into questions also asked and put it into different graphs and things like that, because they can understand it better. And it uses vocabulary that they understand, as we said before. It reads code, okay, in a richer way, and we're going to talk about that. And the code's put on your website through Schema and other markup, and you don't have to be a coder. I'm going to show you. We'll make it easy. You don't have to be a brainiac to understand how to do this, okay? So what is schema? Schema is actually, so structured data is that language, but what is schema? Schema is the code that's put on the page, okay? It's a cognitive framework or concept that helps organize and interpret that information. That's what the schema is. It's an outline of the data of information. It's code that recognizes entity data. We're not going to talk about that today, but this is kind of what I was trying to tell you, is that it's extra on-page SEO code. It's extra. That's why I call it advanced. It's more stuff. If you're providing schema and structured data on your SEO, you're going extra and you're doing a little bit more, but it sends data and signals to Google to use in various applications and use those data bits. It gives juice to topical and categorical relevance throughout the relationships, because inside the code, we say this page is also like another page. And we say that without anybody else seeing it, just the computer to see it. So who and what is it for? It's a behind the scenes code, not for humans. So if you're trying to learn this and figure out what it is, it's solely for machine consumption. You could go into every page and do the view source trick to see what the code is, and that code will be there, meaning you will see it behind the scenes. Schema is used to identify the entity data, which is like my page is like this page, or we'll see that an example here a little bit later. Google uses schema to shape and categorize their data sets, and schema is used for Google to take snippets of content from your site and use it elsewhere in the Googleverse, sometimes called handles or rich results, and we want those. And schema is also, here's the word of the day. If you're writing this, write down this word, because this is what we want to do as SEOs, as digital marketers. We want to disambiguate concepts and ideas around topics and relevance with structured data. I generally try to use the example of an alpine versus an alpine stereo. You're talking stereo versus mountains. The only way to disambiguate that would be through data behind the scenes. Otherwise, the computer's not going to know the difference. So here's the screenshot. Here's the word to write down, post this. Disambiguate. This is what we want to do when we write content, when we do anything that we want to get ranked or get Google to take any action, is to remove the uncertainty of the meaning from ambiguous sentence, phrase, other linguistic unit. Word senses can be disambiguated by examining the context. Okay, so we want to disambiguate, and that's one of the benefits of Schema. So this is Google's definition of rich result. And I see a lot of people arguing about what is a rich snippet and what is a rich result and what is a feature and all that kind of stuff. Rich card, if you hear all that. So this is another screenshot. What is a rich result? What is a rich snippet? Okay. Basically, here's the benefits of it. It helps search engines understand your content better. Okay. It improves brand presence with a full knowledge graph. It's hard to get a knowledge graph without providing this data, as you can see. People also ask, it gets attention grabbing results. This is that knowledge card of that knowledge graph. You become eligible for feature cards. And like that, people also ask, it improves the CTR, the click through of your results, because it actually will add, you'll see some other things coming up. It positions your site for voice search, Alexa, and Google Assistants when you use the schema code, and it provides a sneak preview to your content or site layout in search. It also helps you receive more plays or views to your songs, to your videos. Rich result video will pull that into the video results. Your article or your blog post, you can pull that and it'll pull it into news articles of the day. So you get more video views. This is the benefits of using Schema. Without using it, you're not going to get all these things. Okay, so display social proof. As you can see there, it can even display your, when you do this is also like my Facebook page, it will even show your Facebook profiles and stuff in the Google search results, which is you're getting search results exposure. That's the benefits of Schema. Now, Google uses it to establish new entities. They have a reason for using it, and they also, what I call handles, they use it to be able to grab content that you say, here, I got some data or content to share. I want to share this. And it allows it to grab it and use it and connect it to another place. So it establishes new entities, and it expands what is called an entity card, which your website, your business, who you are, those are entities. And it expands what those cards are and connects them. That's what Schema can also do. And it builds relationships between them. This connecting is what I'm talking about. And Google uses it to create rich results. Here we go again. What is a rich result? Again, rich snippet, rich result, these rich cards. This is a great place to look to go, what do I want? And we're going to talk about that here in a second. But a rich result is the enhanced listing that you definitely want. Okay, so in the schema card, here's news article. This is a schema, and I'm going to show you this as we move through this. But you go here and you look up the schema that you're trying to do. So you got a blog article, a news article, etc. And that's the schema that will get you a rich result in the top stories. Okay, in the Google top stories, that's the schema that you use to get that rich result. Okay, so it helps you get SERP features, knowledge graphs, local packs, image carousels, featured snippets, or some search features. You got rich results or like FAQs, different things like that, rich snippets, enhanced search engine listings and stuff. We'll show you that review stars and different things. We have some of that with some of our testing, just getting stars, stock quantities, different things like that in the search results you do with schema and structured data. So rich snippet categories. So here's the categories. So if you're thinking what applies to me, here's the categories: sponsored features, local business. If you have a local business, schema is definitely for you. You need to implement this right away. Knowledge features, media features, vertical enhancements. I mean, if you've got video, if you've got audio, you need schema for that. That'll plug that into Google. Vertical enhancements from the knowledge graphs. If you have a Google business, your knowledge graphs, and search query features that you can show up in questions also asked and different things like that. So these are the different things, and there's a listing on Google. I'm going to give you that here in a second so you can write this down. But the rich results from schema are in these categories right now. So these are the first 10. These are kind of some of the main ones that we go for is article, breadcrumb. I'm always using, if I have a course, you use the course, event, fact checks. You see product, use product, Q&A page is a great one. Review snippets, you got your social profile snippets. These are rich results from schema. So this is kind of what I look at and target and go, what do I what do I want to target here? What do I have? Do I have a how-to? Do I have an FAQ page? Do I have a social profile that I want? Do I have a review, or do I have an article that could be a fact check, content or whatever? So these are the rich results from Schema that we look for or look at in this list. So, it starts with a page. So the page or the content that you're working on, you ask, what is this? What's the rich result do I want to get from this? Okay. Book schema. So if you have a book, you put book schema on the page, it'll show up in Google itself under that book. FAQ schema, it'll show up in the questions, different asks. Article schema. This is when you use the article schema on your page can show up in the top articles in Google, especially if it's relevant or topically relevant to what is in the top article of the day. So person schema. So your person, or if you're a personality influencer, that kind of thing, Daffy Duck is one of our characters, is a person schema. Local business schema. This is my business here. You want your local business schema where you have your Google business connected. You have your open office hours, any of that kind of stuff. That's all connected. This is also called knowledge graphs, by the way, from a rich perspective. Video schema. Okay, this goes on and on. Remember, there's 30 of these. We're not going to cover all of these in screenshots because there is a better place I'm going to share with you here in a second that is a Google resource that will literally go through all these and show you exactly what to do to get them. Okay, that's the brilliant part about a lot of this. So here's another one. So here's an example that I was just mentioning to improve the click-through of your listing that's in Google itself. So somebody's typing in quick win SEO formula, this comes up, and then you see a 5-star, the price, in stock, that's all schema. And there's the, as you can see down there, the $497, literally this is the schema. And again, this is copy and paste. I'll show you how easy this is. But this shows up right in the listing itself with the star. So imagine that would improve your click-through. Okay, if you see listings in Google and you see some that has stars, you're going to click on the ones that have stars. If you see in stock, you're going to click on those more than you're going to click on the others. And that comes from schema. Now, here's the URL. So if you're writing this down, and let's see if I can zing over here real quick. The URL. Here's the URL that I just gave on the screen. But basically what this is this allows you to, there's the article right at the top. There's the book. There's the breadcrumb. There's the carousel. So Google literally gives you, there's the course, there's the data set. And the great thing about this is you're like, well, I have an article. I want to use the article schema. So you just click get started and you click right in and it tells you all the uses. So Google hand delivers. And there's the schema code right here. Now, that could scare you, and I'll show you an easier way of doing this. But this is just showing you the example and the usage and how you use and where this actually shows up and is for Google. So this is where you go to do that. This is a great little tool that'll allow you then to go through all 30 on the Google site and see which one is for you. So you definitely want to do that. Now, here's the things that you can do to prepare. Review how you personally relate to that list. So go through that list and go, do I have that? Do I have an article? Do I have a book? Do I have a video? Meaning go through and make an inventory. Review your website. Make a list of the relationships to all the things that you're related to, from your social media to businesses to listings. Do you have a Better Business Bureau listing? Do you figure out where are all the relationships that you have that you could connect your schema to. Review your keyword targets for rich snippets. Review the list of 30 rich snippets and determine which ones to target. Okay, that's got to start there. And review any competitor rich snippets. When I say competitor, all that means is that you can do everything that you look into yourself. You can do that with a competitor. Okay, we do that with keywords. We do that, all kinds of stuff. So schema property selection. So you may dive into the article thing and you may see 30 plus elements. Okay, and you go, what are all do I include in the elements in the properties? Okay, that's what you'll get to. And basically, as we're starting this, it's what makes sense to you as a human and to Google. And here's the thing, because the temptation would be to just stuff everything, meaning you would go, oh, I'm related to Tony Robbins, to Oprah Winfrey, to, no, that ain't gonna work. I mean, you can't just connect, and say I'm like everything. That's not gonna work either. So you, just like you couldn't with keywords, you can't overstuff. You got to reflect the content of the page. That really makes a big difference. And then, because this is robots now, we're working with robots, not humans. And then schema.org is where you review all the properties. So if you're at schema.org, that's this place right here. And that's kind of all, that's the validator. This is schema.org. And it kind of, you go through, as you see, thing. If I'm doing a person, that's patient. So you got all the different data types, but generally creative work is where you find web pages. You see all these different schema. I mean, schema is for everything. So now I'm on the website. So you see all of these properties. This is what I was talking about. All these properties can be included on your schema. So there's quite a bit, but you don't want to include all the properties. Okay. You want to just make sure the ones that apply to you and your page. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. Now, how to pick the schema is, what is the page about? So if this is about Daffy Duck, okay, this is an about schema. I'm going to do some of that. Meaning I could be attaching to a Wikipedia page. I could go, this is also like the Wikipedia Daffy Duck page, to give it kind of some of that connectivity. Don't add confusing references based on content, meaning I wouldn't want to connect Daffy Duck to Oprah Winfrey. That wouldn't make sense, but I could connect Daffy Duck to Donald Duck at Disney. That could make sense. What entities appear on your competitors' pages? Again, as we said before, just double check your competitors and see if they have any other entities that also apply to you. You can look at other people's schema. Just open up their code and you'll see all of the code. It's usually, it says JSON, it's JavaScript is how it's done. So basically, that's how you pick the schema. And then the hierarchy of the schema, that was what I was going to show you, is when you're on the schema itself, the hierarchy is what I went through to get here. This is the hierarchy. So you got thing, creative work, website. Website could probably go down to a type of website. So we go thing here. So when you're on schema.org and you're looking for the right schema, the category, like this is local business example all the way down. If you have a dentist, childcare, in the example with Bugs Bunny, it was an art gallery. And so the schema syntax is where that's actually on schema.org. I don't use the schema. There is schema syntax on Google as well, but the this syntax is a little bit easier to copy and paste and will do what you need to do. But here's the thing. The schema syntax must be correct. That's why we have validators and double checkers, things that'll check it, but it must be correct. That's why I use a generator too, or have sheets that are already where you can copy and paste and just edit. So I'll show you that here in a second. But use validator.schema.org to validate. So once you do copy and paste and you fill in the blank in the schema, you come in to validate. And basically validation just looks like this. This is one of our web pages, a blog entry, email marketing tips for digital marketing. And the validator will show you the schema on the page. So you can come in and double check. So I have author schema. You see that's showing Joseph Kahn, the person, the publisher. Like this is schema that you'd want to go in the author or whatever, but this is the validator that'll tell you what your schema looks like and what it reads on the page. So you would then validate there on schema.org. And it uses JSON, which basically stands for JavaScript Object Notation for Linked Data. I don't know if y'all ever knew what that meant, but I like knowing what things mean, but that's what it means. JavaScript Object Notation for Linked Data. That's what it means. Linked data, remember that structured data is kind of what we're doing here. Basic syntax of schema JSON is this. It's easy. Once you kind of know what this is, then you can just edit like postal address, and you see kind of this example over here on the right. And schema.org/docs, if you read this document, if you're a coder or any of that kind of stuff, this stuff is easy. If you're not a coder, just learn where to paste in between the quotes. That's all you have to know how to do. Like you can see in this example, post address, Seattle, Washington. If you already have the templates and you can just fill in the blank, super easy. Steps to implement, basically you pick up the format, and generally this is what we use. You mark up the content, so you dive down to figure out what you're doing, and then you insert that into your web page. And I'm going to show you an easy way to do that. And then you test it. So you saw the test, but that's the steps. So you pick the markup, you mark up your content, okay, use a template, insert it into the web page, and then you test it. And if it tests out and it's good, then Google's going to find it. And so this is what the question that I always get, where does it go? Okay, so here's kind of some categories: breadcrumbs, service, item list, person. Like you saw in my example, I had a person, FAQ, audio, video. If you have a video, article, blog, most people have these. So this is where it goes. So breadcrumbs go on all of your home, local, or it goes on all this, okay? Your service goes on your service page. Your item list goes on your service page. Your person goes on your bio page. It could go on any articles also. FAQ, of course, that's obvious. Audio, video, obvious. Articles go there. Blog goes there. Meaning these are markup categories. And where does it go? It goes on these pages. So every one of your pages should have that there. Now, here's a cool thing. You're like, this is scary. Here's another tool that you can use. And then, so here's how easy it could be. You use a generator. You use this plugin, HMC, if you're on WordPress, you can just copy and paste right into it. And then you basically check it. You just check to see if it's good. If that works, then you just have it indexed, or you go through your Google Search Console and have it re-looked at once you got new code on there. But basically, that's all you have to do. I'll show you a quick example. I think I have time. But you're kind of going over here, and you just choose your type. Remember, so if we're doing a local business, this just runs it for you. So you kind of can, I mean, how easy is this, right? So I'm doing internet for a library. You type it in, library, the URL of the library, whatever, the exact URL. Once you fill that out, these are all the pertinent elements, okay? And then even open office hours, all that kind of stuff. That's what gets generated in the knowledge panel cards. And then you just generate the schema, and there it is. All you do is copy the schema, okay? And then you paste it. Here's the plugin. It's called HFC and CM. If you look that up, I think it's header footer code manager. It's just if you have a header footer code manager, you're just inserting the code. You just copy and paste it right into your header footer code manager. Is basically all you do. So you you can use a tool like this that will literally write out your local business code, and you copy and paste it right in, and then you go and double check to make sure that all of that schema showed up in schema.org. Now, if we had more time, we could run through a live example and show you that, but we would have internet and, having to wait and different things like that. But for the sake of time, you saw the generator, and there's multiple generators out there. If you just Google schema markup generator, you'll see there's so many. This is just one example. And they generally are following schema.org. So if you want to old school it, go to schema.org and go it through yourself, and then copy and paste and create your own. Because it's the other thing that once you get good at it, you're going to do this, meaning you're going to have, this is my local business schema template. Okay, so you're going to have all of those things. You're going to have your own customized template that you can copy and paste from client to client to client. So this is my local business schema template, and that's what I do. I don't use generators anymore, but I used in the very beginning a generator to create my perfect templates, but then I have all my templates on a Google Doc. So if you say, hey, I need, a local business schema, I have my template, I copy and paste it, I implement it, right away, because it's already there. I didn't have to go through this, but this will help you create those templates as well. And then you use the plugin, and there's lots of different plugins. Okay, so I made it, I did it the old school way, which is I went down and found the elements and went down. But there's also plugins that will make all that easy too. Okay, so that's just nerding out on being very specific, and I believe that can give you a competitive advantage. These also are better than not doing schema, meaning rank math. This is a screenshot of rank math where you see article, book, carousel, course. And I believe that they have 30 plus some odd things that you can do and use in here. So there's a lot. Squarely is another one, all-in-one SEO. These are common tools that have schema built into it, but also there's schema plugins specifically that's designed also to implement schema. There's a ton of those too. So if you just Google schema plugins, you'll see that there's a ton of schema plugins for Google. And if you're using Wix, Squarespace, any of those kinds of things, you just paste the JSON code right where you paste any of your Google tracking code or any of the tracking code type of stuff. That's where you would paste any of your schema code in any of those other types of websites that's other than WordPress. And to test your schema, here's where you go. You go to search.google.test /rich results, and then the validator. The Google tester looks a little bit different than it looks like this. So this, we were validating the same page just to have an example on the screen. And this basically said, hey, we got some breadcrumbs, because I usually put that on all of my blogs. And then it pulled out the article. Basically, it detected some items here. And then if you click on that, it'll show you these are the items that were written into the JSON code. So you're kind of, after you get through implementing it, you paste it in here to see what Google saw, if they saw your code correctly. And if there's any errors, this is going to have a red. This is going to say, no, there's errors or issues. And you'll get that if you're playing one apostrophe out of place, you'll get an error. But as you can see, the name, the publisher, all this kind of stuff, we're just looking over the logo URL. You know, we're just looking over. This is all the schema that Google sees as data bits and data points to this article, which is great. That's what we want to have happen here. Okay, so we basically test it using this, and the validator will also test it as well. And it should show, sometimes it shows the same information, sometimes it shows a little different. This is the same article, but you'll see it still has similar information to what Google has on it. I usually use this first, and then once this is good, then I'll run over to Google and test it there second, because Google tests it for a little bit different set of rich results. So I'll test it in both places. Now, monitor your results. Okay, this is definitely what you're going to want to do. And this is also, if you pop in, you can pop in other people here to see what they're ranking for and what rich snippets this is one of those also tools that you can use to spy on your competitors. Meaning, if you want to see what your competitors are getting rich snippets for, you can also do this. And I'm going to show you this here in a second. So monitoring your keywords for rich snippet opportunities. You see in this first screenshot, our client here, Chuck Jones, is in the rich snippets for, we've been targeting knowledge graph, related questions, video thumbnail, related keywords, breadcrumbs. You see, like we want, you're probably like me, if we call ourselves the zealots, you know, we want it all. We want to connect everything. We want to make sure everything's in harmony. So as you see here, you can look at your keywords and then target rich snippets by going in and going, what do I apply to? Should I have a knowledge graph? And then you go into the Google and look up the knowledge graph and go, okay, here's the code I need to then insert on my page to get that. Does that make sense? That's, you basically go, what do I have? What elements do I need from schema.org? And then can I insert that into my page? And then you have it re-indexed, and then magically you start showing up in great places, and then you use Serpstat to kind of monitor that. So let's look at a live picture of Serpstat on that. Here's the keywords, and that's a live screenshot of it. And as you can see, as we go down to many of our different keywords, that we've got lots of great volume here. And we got a lot of good volume, but you see we got related questions, you know, Cat from Looney Tunes, related questions, feedback, even feedback, image and snippet. Image we always, you know, tag in our schema code to make sure that we get, since we're an image heavy company, but you see breadcrumbs, image and snippet features. I think there was another one we were targeting that it hasn't indexed yet. So that's how you can figure out and see where you're at as far as snippets on Serpstat. But you can also, the cool thing is it'll make sure, this is a cool little tool that'll let you run through and do an audit. And you see there's some things here, but it'll show you if you're missing schema. This shows that it's implemented here, implement schema markup on HumJam here. It'll show you that it's in an orange. I did test these things. There could be some missing things to make it orange. I'm not sure, but I think that's just to show that it's there and to start looking at it. So you can, in your audits, also see if it's implemented or not and implemented correctly, and test it also that way, which I also thought was really cool to monitor your results there. So monitor your competitors and monitor yourself and double check. But here's the thing. Get to work. So it really makes a massive impact to do it and get the knowledge graphs and to actually take the time. So if you're doing your SEO work and you're doing your on page, this is the advanced part of on page. And if you're a beginner, cool, you just went past a lot of people, okay, just by learning this. This is definitely going to be a feather in your cap if you go deep and get really good and learn and have some tools and tricks behind your scenes here. This is a great place to go, because the future is in the entity connection, is in the topical relevance, is making sure all of these entities and websites are connected, and Google's using this behind the scenes code. Because imagine if you were trying to connect all that to the human reader. They couldn't read all that. They wouldn't read all that. So that's why you have to do it for the machines. And if you do it for the machines, it will help you out. So identify the schema, pick the appropriate properties, and select the data. Okay, that's all you have to do. Here's the steps. Select the code that you need, whether you have that already pre-copy and pasted or you're using a generator. Select that code, paste it in, and then use the schema checker. If it looks good, then you submit it to Google Console. Okay, you basically, and you, just like you submit any changes to schema, you also resubmit that and say, hey, I got new changes to the page I need you to look at. So if you do any schema changes to your pages, you also want to resubmit that and monitor using Serpstat. Monitor your keywords to check if you got any of the things that you're targeting, and monitor just to make sure that schema is on every page that you want it to be on every different page. And go to Schema Markup SEO. I have a little thing there for beginners that's put together that basically walks through a little more detailed, because it was hard to go through different examples in this short period of time together, but specifically walking through down to the level of implementing the code and using the plugins and stuff like that. So there's training there. There's some checklists there. All of the spreadsheets, or all of the template sheets, like the local business sheet you saw, I have all that there. So like these sheets right there, for every different kinds of templates you can think of, from article, blog, etc. I have all of those. That's also included in there. So if you're interested in that, cool. If not, cool as well. I'm going to turn it over for questions. If there's any questions, I know it's a lot of content here. So if there's anything anybody wants to run through.
Okay, Joseph, thank you very much.
Or go back. Anything you want to go back to?
Okay, thank you very much. It was so useful and engaging, and it was fun too. And let's get started with the Q&A session. And we have several questions in the chat, so let's start. Okay, Ivan asks, Joseph, what schema types have you implemented on your site?
All the ones that you generally see there. The good thing is that you can use these generator tools to test other people's sites. So using the tester on schema.org or any of these other sites, you can test my site. So meaning put my site through that. But I would say that the comma schema types from the author types to the blog web page types to the FAQs. Definitely every video, if I do a YouTube video, definitely that page where the YouTube video is posted gets the schema, and you'll see it show up on the search results. That's the way, if you want your video to show up quickly on the Google search results, put the video schema on the page where you have the video posted, and then index that page, and you'll show up in the Google search results fast. So audio, video, personal pages, FAQ. I don't do recipes, or I don't have a book. So it's really just specifically what you have. Definitely organizational schema, web page. So every web page should have a web page schema. I also put, if you want your author to be known, I'd also put my author information on every page if you're writing the page, but at least every blog page, every author needs the author schema on those particular pages to connect those. So that's generally what I do. Maybe about 10, less than 10 schema types is what I use. The rest are kind of very obscure. Unless you had a factoid, you know, that you have a page and you're like, I'm the definitive fact on this issue. You could have that. There's many in the 30 that don't apply. So you just have to figure out what applies, and then look down and study and see, should these elements be on my page? Is the main deal. But less than, I would say 10. But I would say some pages would even get 2 or 3. It's okay to stack them. Meaning it's okay to have a person, a schema, organization schema, and the blog post schema, and an FAQ schema all on the same page. That's totally okay. Just, you know, try not to double up on, you know, on confusing the spiders, but you can have all those all on one page. And it's easy to manage with that plugin that I ship. Hopefully that answers the question.
Okay, thank you very much. It is interesting to test your site for the schema, for the structured data. Okay, and the next question from Evgeny. Does schema improve your search rankings or just increases CTR? What would you say?
I love this question. Now, for me personally, because this is a loaded trick question, because I've seen a lot of legendary answers to this question, that I don't want to ruffle any feathers. But with that said, schema markup has actually helped some of our pages. I believe that by adding it to our Bugs Bunny painting page, if you look up Bugs Bunny painting, you'll see that we rank #1 on that, and you can test the schema on that. But we weren't ranking #1 on that until I added the schema. Okay, until I added the Bugs Bunny schema. I was doing a schema course, and I wanted to use that as a test. And when I added the schema, I can verify that the rankings did go up. You can see in my Serpstat rankings, they went up just by adding some schema. Now, there will be people argue with me and say that didn't do it. They'll say, no, you did something else. You did something else. So I can't say that 100% unless I test maybe 100 or more tests to verify that that's a fact. But it did help my page. Now, CTR, yes, because if I have a Bugs Bunny painting listing and there's 5 other listings and mine has stars and, you know, extra data and costs and stuff like that, that's going to improve the CTR. So it did improve the CTR just from the listing, but in my opinion, it went from like, not in my opinion, in the rankings, I wish I had the screenshot, but it went from like #7 to #1. It's #1 right now, but it's because I believe I added the schema to it. A lot of my ranking did go up when I started implementing schema on a lot of stuff across the board, because when I learned this, I'm like, oh man, I'm going after all of the Google results, you know? So I just went and blanketed all of my clients and everybody, but every ship leveled up when I went on a schema rampage and put schema on everything and connected everything and just went on that. All ships leveled up. You can literally see my client stats going up, okay, from just adding schema markup. So you could go, well, so that means that schema markup can help rankings. In my opinion, it helped our rankings. That's all I can say. I can't say across the board that it's going to help your ranking, but it will definitely improve your CTR, and it will definitely improve Google's knowledge of what your site's about. I do know that for a fact. So hopefully that helps, but I can't definitively say, yeah, it's going to improve your rankings, but it did improve mine. It definitely improved mine.
Okay, thank you very much, Bud. It's so inspiring. Okay, and the next question is, okay, from Public 94. Okay, I'm still doubtful that if we need to include schema only on the index page or all the pages.
We need it on all the pages. I would put schema on all the pages because every page is a quote unquote web page, and every web page is its own entity in this Google index. Is that true? We would all agree that every single web page is treated as its own entity in the Google index. Is that true? Would you say that's true? That every single web page is its own entity in the Google index? If that's true, then you need schema markup on every page, not just your index. On every page needs schema markup because they're all a web page. Okay, so they need who the organization created it, who's the author on it. There's so much data that every web page has that you would want Google to know. And if Google if they knew it, then they could basically, and we didn't even talk about EAT, expertise, authority, and trust. If you connect up some of these properties to yourself, Google's going to consider that there's more expertise and authority connected up there for the trust. So I believe that from an EAT factor, and again, this is not about that. This is not that topic, but I believe that schema also helps the EAT factors also. Just because it connects these other entities together and gives you more authority behind the scenes. It's saying, hey, we're syndicated, we're connected behind the scenes. And so every page needs at least a little bit of schema, just at least the web page schema, if it's just a web page, because every page has data that Google would want to validate as its own entity. So I would say every page, and then each individual page, as my diagram, would get specific schema to that particular type of page. And if you had a video on it, you'd make sure that page not only included the personal, but included the organizational, but also had the video schema on there as well. And then if there was an author, that had the author schema on there as well. So hopefully that helps. But you're going to want it on all the pages, not just one page, if that makes sense. But you can reuse the same schema on all the pages. That's what this HFCM tool will allow you to insert header and footer. So you can't include like the organizational schema. You can just have that inserted on all the pages. So, you get covered, at least all the pages have an organizational schema on them. Hopefully that helps and makes sense.
Okay, thank you. And then Kate asks, could you share this link? Maybe Kate means the link you shared during the presentation.
Yeah, definitely. The link that if she's talking about schema.org. So if you go to schema.org, you will see all of the testers. The actual place where you can see everything is on schema.org. That's the main open source free area for everything schema. For any of the testers, if you just Google markup tester, the very top of the page is the two tools that I showed during the presentation. If you just Google search Google markup tester, those tools show up right in the very top. So I think that covers the links. But any of the other links, I'm sure you'll share with the recording. I can produce some of the links that's in the recording if there's any of those that you want, because I know there were some long ones in there. The Google one, but you could search it if you just Google markup elements. I think it's the top search. Like Google is always going to list themselves as number one if it applies to them. So if you Google elements or Google schema elements, it'll be in the top. That sheet that had all 30 elements, it'll be in the top listing.
Okay, thank you. And I'd add that we will put all the materials together in
I'll make sure
the
you have all the links that's in the presentation.
yes, and we'll try to gather all of this and send you via email after the webinar. So, but if you still have a question with that, so you can ask one more time with clarifications. Thank you. And then, okay. The good question. Roy asks, is it necessary to know how to code if you are working as an SEO specialist?
And that's the great thing, is you can be a total beginner and look like a rock star in the schema world. And that's because there's so many generators. You don't have to know how to code. You just have to know how to. The biggest mistake that people make, if code scares them, or if they're like, oh, look at all these apostrophes and quotation marks and stuff like that, if that kind of scares you, all you have to know is that anything in between quotation marks is data. So data is read by anything kind of in quotation marks. That kind of sets apart the data. So as long as you know that, that's all the coding level you need to be successful with schema. What you really need to know how to do is just know what goes with what. Meaning, if you can organize or have an organization brain to go, let me know that the hierarchy down or these elements go with this page. If you can tune those elements in harmony with that page and the elements that's on that page, that's not coding. That's kind of just coming up mentally with what the topical relevance is and what schema needs to go on that page, is not coding. If you can learn that, the coding part of it is just going through a schema generator where you can just fill in the blanks. Once you know what you're targeting or what you're going to go on the page, you can go to a schema generator that we showed on this, or type in schema generator into Google, and then you can just fill it in like a form. Once you get the form, you can copy and paste it right into that any header, footer script, anything that that you can insert a header. Even if you're coding your own HTML page, you just copy it right into your web page. If you're using Squarespace, Wix, all that kind of stuff, you just paste whatever that tool creates for you. You just paste it right into those tools. You don't need to know any coding. Now, if you had your own templates, then you would just enter in the data rather than entering it into a form. You would enter it in between the quotation marks. That's the only coding you would have to know, is just entering data in between quotation marks. As long as you can do that, you don't have to write like you don't have to do the entity ats, and you don't have to write any code at all. It's all done for you. A lot of SEOs have gone before us and connected all the dots here and wrote all the JSON code. And so we just have to copy and paste is all we really do. And I personally just have it all pre-created. And then I just know to edit in between the quotation marks. And for my VAs and my people on my team, I just have that Word doc that has it's just highlighted, the space, the bit, just like if you're doing a fill out form on a legal document, you're going to highlight the pieces that need to be changed. I just have the pieces highlighted, and they just change those pieces and copy that code, paste it right into the page, reindex it, boom, no coding necessary. So any beginner specialist can be taught to do the schema just by going through schema.org and copy paste. And, it's not super difficult at this level anymore to do it. So hopefully that helps and gives you encouragement that you can go right to it and have some results with schema right away. It's fairly easy copying and pasting from these generators.
Okay, thank you. And let's turn to the questions from Pavel Zinchenko. Hi, does it make sense to add the FAQ schema to long-form blog posts articles for better ranking SERP real estate with a little FAQ section at the end of the article?
Brilliant. Yeah, I would say definitely do it. That I I don't have any specific examples of my FAQs don't show up from doing that. They show up because there's other kinds of entity data, and it's basically just asking questions. And when some of our code have shown up and the questions asked, if you're targeting those aren't the same as targeting FAQs. I think the FAQs get targeted in like a different frequently questions asked. You'll have to do a little bit more on that, but our questions show up in those questions always asked as H2, marked H2s, because marked H2s also is considered schema markup. There's different types of schema markup. So we don't mark up to be in the frequently asked questions in Google. We don't mark that up using the FAQ schema. However, I want to test that. Like, that would definitely be on my testing list. I would definitely want to test that. If you had a frequently asked questions, if I had a frequently asked questions on my page, I would definitely be putting the frequently asked questions schema. And then you can go through you would add each question in your page into the FAQ schema. You would just add it into the schema. So you would give Google if you have the question and the answer, you can add that right into schema. If you had that at the bottom, I would say that would be a good move. I haven't tested it that way. My FAQs show up using schema markup in the H2 headers. That's how we ask questions in the headers. Totally different method, but that would also work, I believe. I would definitely try that, and I definitely think that would help. And it's on my test list. So I think it would be a good shot to give that a try. It's not going to hurt. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah. Okay, Joseph, I see that we are almost out of time, so I suggest to answer all of left questions via email. So, friends, if you have any other questions, join our Serpstat Twitter chats, and there we conduct Serpstat chats on Twitter, and it's a great opportunity to get the answers on your questions from SEO experts in different digital marketing fields, and also it's a good opportunity to brainstorm, and or you can bring your expertise there as well. We conduct the Serpstat chat regularly on Thursdays at 2 p.m. Eastern Time and 11 p.m. Pacific Time. And join our Google Calendar. I see the link in the chat. And this Thursday, we have a chat with Francesca Baldini on the topic SEO strategy that turns your website into a powerful lead generation tool. I'll be happy to see you among the participants there too. So, Joseph, thanks for your Tuesday.
Thank you so much. Yeah, this is amazing. Thank you for allowing me on this. And you got to go to the Twitter chats. The Twitter chats are amazing. You got to go to those. Those are great.
Oh, thank you very much. And thank you for your wonderful presentation. It was full of cases, full of personal experience, and you shared everything with great sincerity. And people say that it was super awesome.
Awesome.
As I see, and okay, thank you guys for being here with us, for watching, and for your questions. In my point of view, we have gained a lot today, and I'll personally need to recheck all the presentation, because there are a lot of insights for me as for newbie and junior SEO specialist. So it's been a pleasure to learn new insights in an educational and fun way. So cheers, thank you, and have a great day, Joseph. Have a great day and week, guys. And let's meet again. See you.
Yes, see
Goodbye.
you. Bye.